Guys, have you ever felt like a massive lie is being paraded right in front of your eyes, and the whole world is desperately trying to force you to believe it? Today, I'm going to tell you a story that isn't a plot from a Hollywood thriller, but the tragic reality of a living, breathing 18-year-old kid and his grieving family. I am talking about Nolan Xavier Wells, a young black teenager with a bright future ahead of him, who was left behind by his friends in a place from which there was no return. What I'm going to reveal in this video today is something you will not find on any mainstream media channel, any newspaper, or any TV news broadcast. Why? Because today, we are pulling back the curtain on how the system, the media, and wealth are working overtime to bury the truth. If you have been following this case, I need you to take a minute and forget everything you've been fed by the TV networks. Because today, we are talking facts, logic, and receipts. This is going to be a deep dive, so grab your snacks, grab some water, keep an open mind, and let's get into the dark reality of this case. The story begins on July 4th, 2026. Independence Day. Nolan Wells, who was just 18 years old, went out with his friends to Horn Island in Mississippi. It was supposed to be a normal, fun boat trip where kids go to celebrate. But nobody knew that Nolan would never return from this trip alive. The friends came back, but Nolan didn't. And then, exactly 2 days later, on July 6th, Nolan's body was pulled from the water. The moment his body was found, the statements coming from his friends were enough to set off alarm bells in anyone's head. From day one, this wasn't just a tragedy. It became a highly suspicious cover-up. The friends' stories weren't matching up, and their statements were so full of holes that a child could see right through them. Let's talk about the biggest lie in these friends' narrative. These guys told the police that the last time they saw Nolan was at exactly 3 p.m. Sounds like a normal detail, right? But here is the massive flaw. All of these friends have admitted on the record that they left their cell phones on the boat so they wouldn't get ruined in the water. Now, make it make sense. If you are swimming in the water, hanging out on an island, and nobody has a cell phone or a smartwatch on them, how did every single one of you magically know it was exactly 3 p.m.? Did an alarm go off in all of their heads at the same time? Or did they come back, get their stories straight, and pick a specific time so they all had the same alibi? And here is the most bizarre part. Nolan's own cell phone was found in the possession of one of his friends back on the mainland. Use your common sense. If you go to an island with your friends and you decide, hey guys, you go ahead, I'm going to stay here, are you going to hand your cell phone to your friend as they leave? On a secluded island with no transportation back to the mainland, why would you give away your only lifeline and means of communication? It makes zero sense. The fact that his phone was on that boat is proof enough that Nolan never intended to stay behind. The friends told the police that when they were leaving, Nolan was hugged up with a girl on the island and refused to leave with them. When the police asked who this girl was, the friends brushed it off, calling her an unidentified woman. When the pressure mounted, they finally threw out a name, Lainey. But when the police investigated, they found out that a girl named Lainey wasn't even on Horn Island that day. She told the police she hadn't even seen Nolan in a year. So the question is, why did they lie? Because they wanted to hide the identity of the real girl. And that girl's name is Katie. Katie isn't a stranger. She is very close to Nolan's family. When Nolan's mother was panicking, it was Katie who called her and alerted her that the friends' stories were completely fabricated. Katie revealed the truth that completely destroys the friends' narrative. According to Katie, Nolan was sitting with her, and suddenly his friends started screaming at him, "Nolan, hurry up, get on the F***ing boat." And Nolan ran away from her toward them. Katie didn't leave him there alone. She physically watched him run back to his friends. Furthermore, another eyewitness, Caitlin Brockhard, whose boat was parked right next to Katie's, has come forward stating that they were on the island until 7:30 p.m., and Nolan was nowhere in sight. If Nolan had stayed behind, on such a small, crowded island, somebody would have seen him until 7:30 p.m., right? The truth is, Nolan wasn't there. When this case started blowing up in the media, a very specific narrative was suddenly pushed. Through secret reports and unnamed sources, the media started claiming that Nolan was heavily intoxicated that day. This is a classic tactic used to blame the victim. Oh, the kid was just drunk. He probably fell in the water. It was just an accident. But this narrative fell flat on its face when Nolan's coach stepped forward with the truth. The coach stated that he spoke to Nolan between 2:45 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. And Nolan was completely normal, fine, and 100% sober. Nolan wasn't just a regular kid. He was an elite Division I athlete. And the very next day after that island trip, he had one of the most important athletic tryouts of his career. No serious athlete, with a massive tryout the next morning, gets blindly drunk the day before. This was nothing but a disgusting attempt at character assassination to paint Nolan as a reckless kid so the public would just move on and forget the case. And who was leading the charge in this character assassination? The mainstream media. Guys, nothing makes my blood boil more than TMZ and its host, Harvey Levin. TMZ, a network that prides itself on investigative journalism, sat on national television and purely defended the Friends. Keep in mind, one of these friends, Bart, is considered an NFL prospect. And if there is one thing the media loves to protect, it's money and power. Harvey Levin boldly claimed on his show, "We have confirmed that Nolan was not on that boat." When challenged on how exactly he confirmed that, he cited a blurry video put out by a right-wing ex-cop, Tatum. When asked, "Do you have the metadata for this video? Can you prove the time and date?" Harvey Levin suddenly lost his voice. He looked off camera, backtracked, and mumbled, "Well, anything is possible. So let me get this straight. You have no metadata, the official police investigation isn't complete, the DA hasn't released a statement, but you are sitting on TV playing judge and jury? That isn't journalism. That is propaganda and programming, designed solely to manipulate public opinion. This next part is going to make you furious. If you want to see the true color of justice in this country, this case exposes it completely. The stepmother of one of the Friends, Judge Ashley Cole, a white woman, received an online threat from an angry troll. Do you know what happened? Within days, the authorities mobilized, tracked down a man all the way in California, and arrested him. Now look at the other side. Christine Wells, Nolan's mother, a black woman who just lost her 18-year-old son. Since this case began, Christine has been receiving relentless, horrific death threats online, telling her to stay quiet. But how many people have the police arrested for threatening her? 0. Absolutely nobody. A white judge gets a threat, and the system works overnight. But a grieving black mother cries for justice for her dead son, and the system suddenly goes blind, deaf, and mute. What kind of justice is this? It's a reality that doesn't just make you angry. It completely shatters your trust in the system. When Nolan's family realized the police weren't doing their jobs properly, they hired Ben Crump, one of the most prominent civil rights attorneys in the country. Ben Crump is the kind of guy who digs until he finds the truth. And as soon as Ben Crump started exposing the lies of these Friends, guess what happened? Warren's father, Dr. Benjamin Hudson, threatened to slap Ben Crump with a defamation lawsuit. Dr. Hudson claims that Ben Crump is ruining his son's reputations by pushing false narratives. Guys, in the legal world, this is called a distraction tactic. When you don't have answers for the truth, you attack the person asking the questions. A heavyweight lawyer like Ben Crump isn't going to be scared off by empty threats. This is only being done so the media shifts its attention from Nolan's tragic death to this new legal drama. But we are not going to let that happen. The final and most crucial point. Everyone is waiting on the autopsy reports. The state's first official autopsy is complete, but the Jackson County Police have refused to release it to the public. They have sealed it pending a grand jury, keeping even the family in the dark. Ben Crump and the family are pushing for an independent, second autopsy, but that cannot be fully completed until the state hands over the details and photos of Nolan's throat and lungs. I need to make something very clear right now, and I want you to listen closely. If the final autopsy report comes back tomorrow and says Nolan's cause of death was drowning, that does not mean it was an accident, and it does not rule out foul play. If someone knocks you unconscious and throws you in the water, the autopsy will say drowning. If someone physically holds you underwater, the report will say drowning. So if that result comes out, Do not give these friends a clean slate. The real question isn't how he died. The real question is, how did he end up in the water in that state to begin with? Guys, every single day in the Nolan Xavier Wells case, a new lie is exposed and a new cover-up is attempted. Money, power, and influence are teaming up to reduce the value of an 18-year-old boy's life to absolutely zero. But as long as people like you and me are here, people who care about facts and refuse to blindly swallow what the TV networks feed us, Nolan's mother, Christine, is not fighting this battle alone. I want to hear from you. What do you guys think? Do you believe the friends committed a horrific crime that they are desperately trying to hide? Do you think TMZ and the mainstream media are purposely running interference for wealth and privilege? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single one of them. If you believe the truth about this case needs to be heard, please hit that like button so the YouTube algorithm pushes this video to more people. Subscribe to the channel and turn that notification bell to all, so you are the first to know every time a real update drops in Nolan's case. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Keep searching for the truth. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.